is entering our educational facility right now. This is our hemp grow space at the Cleveland School of Cannabis. If you are interested in taking some cultivation courses or some horticulture courses here, this is where we will be doing all of our hands-on experience. Most of our coursework will be done in the classes, but at the end of each class period, we tend to come into the grow room and get our hands dirty with some coco coir and work on some plants. So in this room, we do have our plants in their vegetative life cycle in our grow tent, as well as our flowering portion of our room where our plants live out the end of their life cycle. So we do utilize photoperiod plants here. So all of these plants recognize the amount of time that they receive light throughout the day. And in order to maintain our plants in a vegetative state, we do give them 18 hours of light per day. So all of these plants in this tent are receiving 18 hours of light. And all of our plants on our flowering tables, yep, these two lights right here.
So do you need this light to grow, right? And you need a fan on there?
The fan is beneficial, so the fan helps to move the humidity and the heat.
I don't know this, my cousin just flipped.
You like different temperatures?
Yep. So the lights are going to generate heat, and everywhere that the light makes contact with the surface of the plants, that's going to generate heat as well. And while the plant is photosynthesizing, so whenever the fan leaves are receiving light, they are going to be pulling moisture and nutrients up from their root zones, and they're going to be breathing out of the stomata in the bottom of their leaves. It's like the mouth of the leaf. And every time that plant transpires, releases moisture and fresh oxygen from the bottom of the leaves, the fans are used to help push that moisture, that heat away, the fresh oxygen away from the leaves, bringing in cooler air, bringing in fresh carbon dioxide and drier air so that the plant can continue to breathe. Yep. And the more stagnant the air is around your leaf surface, the slower your plants are going to grow.
Okay.
Yeah, what's up?
Is it true that like the fans to help the stalks?
Help the what?
Help the stalks like develop stronger and all that?
Yeah, just like anything else. Like your bones get stronger when there's a little bit of pressure that they have to deal with every day. Same thing with leaves. When they have more weight on them, when they have a little bit of wind blowing, they do tend to need to grow stronger. So it knows what it needs to be able to do to support itself.
Okay.
Yep.
I gotta give me a fan.
We're about to take off. I just want to say thanks, man. It was
Yeah,
a pleasure
absolutely.
meeting you.
Ditto.
It's very good to hear you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much. Have
Not a
good night.
problem, man. It's a pleasure. Yes, thank you.
I gotta give me a fan on.
Fans do help for sure.
Yeah, because I don't got no fan. I just got the light.
Okay.
My cousin just gave me a plant. His is taller. He got buds on his already, but my cousin came over and snipped them.
Yep.
Snipped the leaves.
Topped
that I
them like
had.
this? Yeah.
He cut them, so now it's just the stem.
So you have no leaves left on it whatsoever?
No leaves. It's just the stem growing.
And the stem is still growing? Remarkable.
It ain't developed them yet no more.
Yeah, normally the leaves are the photosynthetic driver of the plant. So if you don't have leaves, there's no place for it to metabolize anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is a little bit shocking. But if there's still leaves on it, there's still hope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. Hi there. Welcome to the grow room. This is our educational grow space. We do have some flowering plants that are about 6 weeks into their flowering life cycle and pretty close to their harvest date. Yep. Are you familiar with cannabis at all?
Yes, but not. I'm familiar with cannabis and I'm familiar with like growing houseplants, but harvesting I feel like is an aspect that I'm missing and I'm interested in learning about. So.
Okay. So typically after most cannabis varieties have about a 56 to 65 day flowering cycle.
Okay.
And you can kind of physically see when your plant is close to reaching the end of its flowering cycle by the amount of white hairs or white pistils that are still being produced by the plant. So those white pistils are what catch the pollen from the male plants and will actually pull the pollen back into the calyx, which is where the seed would be grown if these were pollinated plants. But here you can see that there's very few white pistils left on here, and most of them are orange, which means they've began to die back. So this plant is very close to the end of its flowering cycle and very close to its harvest date. So typically what we do in the cannabis industry is whole plant hang dry a lot of our plants. Whether if it's not whole plant hang drying, what a lot of people do is actually cut each of the buds off individually and hang them in a mesh tarp of sorts that allows for air transfer top to bottom. But whole plant hang drying is the industry standard because it allows for a slower drying period. So faster drying periods tend to leave your buds crunchy. They turn into dust easier, and they don't have as much of a aromatic presence to them because the terpenes are the most volatile compound that are in the plant, and they will leave faster than the cannabinoids. So when you whole plant hang dry, the stems are the slowest part to dry out, and they will actually give moisture back to the flower, allowing it to dry more slowly so that you don't lose a lot of that terpene content. But if you have the capacity to whole plant hang dry in a room that is about 55 to 60% relative humidity over the course of 7 to 14 days, you should be able to preserve a lot of the terpenes. You want to make sure that it's a dark environment, no high intensity light. If you are growing THC plants, the THC cannabinoid will degrade into CBN and give you more of like that sedative, couch locky feeling. Yeah. So if you're trying to preserve THC, cooler temperatures, below 60 degrees. Anything higher than 60 degrees leads to those volatile terpenes evaporating into the atmosphere. Definitely 70 degrees, you will have a lot of terpene loss in your flowers. So cooler temperatures, low humidities, 55% and then 55% relative humidity, and then 7 to 10 days or until you reach about a 15% moisture content in your flower. There's a semi-simple thing you can do with a microwave to find the moisture content of your flower. Weigh your flower, put it in a microwave for about a minute until all of the moisture evaporates, and then weigh your flower again. And the difference in weight is going to be how much water was in there. Yeah, but if you can get to about a 15% moisture content and then throw your flower into a glass jar, what you will see happen is the moisture that is housed in the center of the buds will slowly start to migrate towards the outsides of the buds and then into the relative humidity in the jar. And then every day you come through, open that jar occasionally, allow that humidity to escape, close the jar back up. And then you want to do that until your moisture content of your flower gets to about 12%. 10 to 12% is what most people enjoy consuming their cannabis flower at. But yeah, that's the short of the harvesting, drying, and curing process.
Cool.
Have you worked with cannabis before?
No, I have not.
Okay.
But I'm interested, obviously, in starting to work with it. So
Yeah.
I haven't totally figured out what I'm going to do yet. I'm going off to university,
Nice.
studying business entrepreneurship. End goal is to work in the cannabis industry. I feel like there are plenty of opportunities.
Yep.
Just haven't figured out which part I want to dive into yet. So learning all of it now.
If you're business centric,
Yeah.
dispensaries are a great place.
Right.
Yeah. But if you are interested in being a producer of goods, processing and cultivation is far more interesting in my perspective.
I would agree. And I love working with plants. There was a period of time where I had like 150 house plants.
Nice.
So I obviously love
Yeah.
taking care of plants, watching them grow, figuring out okay, this soil's better for some plants, leca, and doing hydro growing, whatever.
Yeah. Unfortunately for the cannabis industry, most of our cultivation practices are hydroponic.
Yeah.
So there like Galenus is a really popular organic soil grown cannabis company out of Akron, and
How do you spell it?
Galenus, Galenenas, and Christine Chowit is the cultivation director over there. She is an incredibly knowledgeable soil scientist and horticulturist. She is part of the Ohio Canna Women organization, and she is affiliated in some manner with the Cleveland School of Cannabis. She was one of the original curriculum developers.
Cool.
Yeah, very, very wonderful person. The rest of the people growing cannabis in the state of Ohio typically rely on synthetic fertilizer salts and fertigation practices. Yeah, so we stay away from soil. We grow. Over here we have all cocoa coir mixed with vermiculite, and same thing on our flowering table. It is one of the cheapest and easiest mediums to grow in. Yeah.
Interesting. What do you guys make your own soil mixture, or?
We have in the past.
Okay.
We have now recently moved into just a pure cocoa
Okay.
mix. So we are moving away from the mixture of the cocoa and the vermiculite. But yeah, there really is no problem with mixing your own. But a lot of companies sell the mix at the same prices. You can mix it up basically. Yeah, and most companies actually grow in rock wool anymore. So it's basalt stone that gets melted into a magma, and then the fine strands are created in machines similar to cotton candy machines, and then it pressed into a cube, and that cube has a high porosity for holding moisture and nutrients, and the rock wool is far cleaner and